episode is brought to you courtesy of NetSol Technologies, adaptive to your business, your growth, and the future.
Welcome back, everybody. And on we go to another episode of Tech Check, continuing to bring you interesting, young, different people who are trying to make a difference in Pakistan tech startup ecosystem. And with us today, I have Omair Ansari from Abhi Financial. They're trying to make a little difference in the way financial inclusion works for the average person in Pakistan. And with that, Omair, thanks for being on the show.
Thanks, Farooq. Thanks for having me on.
My pleasure. As we do, Omair, let's jump right in. What is Abhi all about?
Abhi is, where to start? We basically are focusing on financial inclusion and financial wellness, but not with the simple premise of it being angelic in a sense. We try and focus on manual pain points that exist currently and digitalize that in order for people to have real access to credit and know and feel what credit is.
Excellent. So can we expand on that a little bit? How would this impact the average person?
So what's the premise and why are we doing this? Our view is that, and it's not just our view, it's something that's existed for a while, is that people live very much paycheck to paycheck in Pakistan, whether in the salaried class or even the non-salaried class. And the issue with that is that a lot of people go to other means to be able to bridge that gap. For them to be able to meet and meet, to be honest. And what that means is, for example, if someone runs out of their savings in the middle of the month, which happens very often because inflation rate is quite high in Pakistan as well on an ongoing basis. Sure. They typically have only three routes for them to be able to bridge that gap. And one is you go to your family and friends and say, hey, can you lend me some money? Which you don't want to keep on doing because your family and friends will probably stop answering your calls and then disappear for a while. And two is if you're lucky to have a bank account, which as we know in Pakistan, there's only about 15% of the population that have a bank account. You go to the bank and ask for a loan, that takes about 45 to 60 days to get approved. So that doesn't meet your immediate needs. And also that's a very privileged end of society. Or you have a credit card, but again, only 500,000 unique credit cards in the country. So that really also, again, very small portion of the country. And the last is the employer. And you say, hey, give me an advance on my salary and then cut it at the end of the month. This is problematic, right? I mean, for the average person, it's to put it in simple terms, it's izzat ki baat hai, right? I mean, you don't want to keep on asking for money, but at the end of the day, you've worked today, so you deserve to be paid today. And you're worth your salt, right? I mean, that's literally where the saying comes from. And you're paid at the end of the day for your work that you've done. And so our premise is that we want to basically bring humility back to the person and allow them to be able to have pride in what they're doing and not have to go and act like they have to beg for their money when they deserve it. So we come in and we provide them with a platform for them to be able to access their wages on a real-time basis. We keep on saying, I put a random statement out the other day. In today's world, with a click of a button, you can watch whatever movie you want or any TV show you want. With a click of a button, you can call a cab and you're ready to go. With a click of a button, you can get food, right? Whether it be your etc., or Food Panda over here. But your money, I mean, that's the basic necessity for you to be able to fulfill all those things. But you have to wait 30 days, sometimes 45 days. That doesn't make sense to me. So that was the idea that let's come in and stream your money is essentially the way we want to tackle financial inclusion and financial wellness as well.
Awesome. No, that's great. So I get it. So you're essentially allowing people to access their wage pool prior to whatever dictates are in place for them to get that. So how does that work for you in a company? What's that trust factor that you build there?
Yeah. it's great that you put the word trust in there. When we had done a small pilot before I decided to leave Morgan Stanley and do this all and move to Karachi, the biggest thing we noticed with that company at first was people weren't transacting, for example. And what we do is we come in on a B2B to C basis because obviously there are frauds, etc., that happen. You can control your risk from that perspective, but it's more than that. Well, we noticed people at first weren't transacting, and we ran a small focus group with the employee base. This is a company of about 400 people.
Mm-hmm.
We asked them like, what don't you understand about this? It seems fairly straightforward. It was a very simple WhatsApp model we were running. You want how much money you want, WhatsApp this number, send us your bank account details, we'll send you. Very quickly, they said, wait, where's the catch? Where are the hidden fees? And who's behind this? And there's this trust factor that just wasn't there.
Wow.
Which is not just a Pakistani thing. It's across the world, to be honest. Financial institutions as a whole are, especially amongst millennials, Gen Z, et cetera. I mean, this is why I think fintech is coming around, is considered untrustworthy. These certain institutions have that trust factor. So we came in, and that's what we kind of decided to, and cemented our thesis that we need to come in on a B2B2C basis, because if your employer endorses the product, then automatically a trust factor is built between you and me. I know that you're not going to screw me over because I know my boss is allowing me to have access to this, which means the trust is kind of a tripartite agreement. And so that was important to us. And that's where the trust factor comes in, of saying, okay, we trust you because of obviously we've gone through your employer, but you can also trust us, which is even more important. For us to be able to provide you something, and there's no hidden fees. This is a very straight, seamless, straightforward process. So yeah, that's
okay. So what is your revenue model then? How does that work?
Yeah. So what we do is we're actually Sharia compliant. This is a product where it's not interest based; it's a transaction fee.
Okay.
So what we do is we charge a flat transaction fee on each amount that you take out.
Okay.
And that's basically how our revenues are built. And it's nominal, because our idea is that this is a stepping stone for you to access your earned capital. And from here on in is where we can start adding other means or other products for you to be able to start looking at from a financial credit perspective.
Okay, got it. So in terms of how are you actually doing the funding? Because you're providing a go-between an employer and the employee. So where's that funding coming from for the interim period?
Yes. We've raised just over $2 million in our seed round.
Okay.
We're funding about $1.5 million of that for our book.
Okay.
But we're in talks with quite a few banks already that are wanting to work with us to be able to provide us future funding, because obviously we don't want to continuously dilute the company and ourselves if we continuously issue equity. It's not a feasible model. So that's how we're looking to fund the book in the future. But as of now, it's on our own books.
Awesome. Okay, great. So a couple of more questions. One is, what are you looking at from a competitive perspective? What's out there besides you?
Yeah. It's a good question. Look, I mean, there's the traditional model, which exists in Pakistan, which is the committee-led model. A lot of people do within companies. Again, I think amongst the younger generation is dying out. It's something an older generation did, but it's not as prevalent now as it was before. So that's I'd say the offline model, which is there. Otherwise, it's loan sharks, to be honest, which we're trying to really undercut. I mean, you look at the APRs on that. I was speaking to someone the other day, and they were a white collar worker earning a decent wage. And this is the surprising thing, by the way. Everyone thinks that this is something for the underprivileged. very, very low, very lower end of the spectrum. But it's not true. It happens amongst white collar workers as well. And this gentleman was forced to go to a loan shark. Didn't understand the terms, etc., and all that. Quickly got caught in that debt cycle and had guys show up at his door with guns, etc. And also that happens as well. So there's that end of it which we're trying to cut out. But otherwise, in terms of the clean competition, we really don't have anyone head on right now. I'm sure will come in the space, but look, let's put it in this perspective. Pakistan has a GDP of approximately 330, $340 billion. There's only $3 billion of outstanding credit in the country. On the price, so it's tiny. So the average person really does not have access to it. So there's enough room for even 5, 6, 7 other players to be doing the same thing. Think about banking system, right? There are over 55 banks in Pakistan, and they're all doing.
Excellent. Okay, great. My last question: what can the diaspora do to help?
Spread the word. Please support us and get us into your company. The best way for us, look, we're going B2B to C right now and knocking on companies' doors and saying, this is your employees, this helps your employees. But if you as an employee base, for example, really want this product, we'd love for you to kind of go to your HR, your CEO, whoever it may be, and say, hey, we want Abhi. Abhi karo. Why we call ourselves Abhi? So why do we need to wait till the end of the month? So we're here to help you. We're helping the company as well. To be honest, it's not just something that helps the individual. It helps companies with cash flows. This is a manual process that exists currently. We're here to help both parties. So please spread the word and support us.
Awesome. Well, with that, Omair, as you know, we try to keep it short and sweet to make sure people keep coming and watching. Thank you very much for being on the show with us today.
Thank you.
And to our audience, as you can see, continue to bring you unique and interesting stories from the ecosystem. As you can see, a lot of great ideas being floated, some of them not original, but very useful. And please continue to like, share, and subscribe to our channels, and keep sending us your recommendations on people to have on the show. And with that, I bid you all Allah Hafiz.